I'm Doug, your tech support representative here at Atlantic British. And in this video we're going to touch base on another maintenance item that we have offered for the 02 to 05 Freelander, which would be the spark plug replacement kit. Now this is for the Freelanders that came with the 2.5 liter V6 and the what they also refer to as a KV6 engine. Now what you end up getting is 6 of recommended spark plugs. You'll see these are NGKs, which is the recommended plug for this vehicle. And these are the better iridium plugs that will last longer. You'll see that we actually have a sheet here that you can download and print, which will give you all the maintenance items we recommend on a Freelander. But right here you have your spark plug kit, number NLP 100290LSKA. And that will get you the 6 spark plugs recommended for your vehicle. Now we're going to show you basically how to access the plugs so you can change these over. It's a relatively easy operation, and doing so on a regular basis will keep the engine running better. You'll end up with better drivability and of course your fuel economy. So let's take a look and see where we hide these plugs. Alright, so we have a 03 Freelander here with the KV6 engine. This was the engine that was standard on all the US spec Freelanders that came into the country. And you've got a little difference between how you're going to change the plugs to the back bank versus the forward bank. So we're going to start with the front bank. This is cylinders 1, 2, and 3. And what you have are 3 separate coils going to 3 separate plug wires feeding your plugs. Now take note that the order of the plugs are not the same order as the coils. You will see like number 1 spark plug here in front actually loops around and the wire goes to the center coil. So take note of that. And I would usually suggest that when you're doing this changeover, don't unplug the coils, do them one at a time so that when you're done, put your spark plug in, connect your coil wire, you know you're on the right plug. So the front's relatively easy. First time off, they're going to stick a little bit. We're going to do number 1, and we'll pop this out of the 2 little retainer clips. You want to work it back and forth a little bit, and it can usually take a long pair of needle nose pliers. You see these are an extended design, and just get underneath, squeeze a little bit and lift, and you'll actually hear a pop. That's how sealed they are. When you get the coil wire out, do a little inspection and look for like a white powder or buildup all around the outside edge of this and then actually down inside. What that is carbon tracking. You want to wipe that out. If it doesn't come clean, I would recommend replace the plug wire. We'll set that off to the side. Now the plugs are relatively deep inside the heads. And you'll see like the length of this is a 6-inch extension, wobble type design with a 5/8 spark plug socket. If you set this down underneath the upper radiator hose, you can slip that socket just like so. And you'll see there isn't a whole heck of a lot of that extension sticking out of there. But it will give you just enough room where now you can put a ratchet on it and ratchet that spark plug out of there. When you go to put it back in, you're going to notice that this may happen. You go to pull this extension out and it's going to leave the socket down on top of the plug. You can remedy that putting a little sideways pressure on that spark plug socket and lifting that up and out. Most spark plug sockets have a rubber boot that's designed to retain the spark plug, so when you slide it down in there, the plug doesn't fall out of the socket. You give that a little spray of some dry silicone and then put the plug in. You'll find that this comes out a lot easier and you have less of a chance of leaving that spark plug socket down inside the head. So you've switched the spark plug over. You're going to do the same as far as installing it. Get underneath the upper radiator hose, lift it just a bit. Slide that in, make sure it's centered, and you'll actually feel it pop onto the spark plug. Put your wire back in your retainers. So essentially you're going to follow the same procedure for the other 2 plugs. Again, do them one at a time so just way you won't end up with cross spark plug wires when you're done. Your firing order will be correct and you'll be able to start it right up. So now we're going to switch over and we're going to show you the back. And this is the side that some guys look as being somewhat formidable, but it's actually very easy. Alright, we're using a borescope on the back of the engine so that we can give you a good visible on what that coil over plug looks like on the back. This is the difference between the front and rear cylinders. In the front, where you have just a plug wire going to the spark plug, here you have a coil over plug. So you'll have two bolts. You'll see one right there and the other just on the other side right there, 8mm, and a clip that holds the connecting primary wire to the coil. Now that clip, you just get underneath with a screwdriver. You're going to lift that up towards the back of the motor. That's going to release this harness, and then you access the two bolts. Once you've taken those off, and we're going to show you how in a minute, you'll be able to remove the coil over plug, which is this unit right here, and that'll give you access to the spark plug. Alright, so now we're going to back out a little bit. Now that you can see what you're dealing with, we'll show you how to take it out. Alright, so using a small pick or a small pocket screwdriver, you get underneath the clip. You're going to lift that up, give the harness a wiggle, and what that'll do is, with the harness off, will now give you enough slack where once you take the two bolts out of the coil over plug, you'll be able to pull it fully out of the hole. And you'll see why in a minute, because there's a long extended boot off the bottom of that, so you'll need some room to wiggle it out of there. Now, as you can see, I've got plenty of room with my hand here, and you'll have that access all the way down. We're going to show you on this one plug though how to change this over. So we're going to take an 8mm deep socket with a 3-inch extension. I like the extensions with the knurls, so that once you break the bolt loose, you can spin this off with your finger. Small 1/4-inch drive ratchet, which doesn't take up a lot of room. And then you can see with a mirror, you can actually locate the bolt. Alright, so we've taken the two bolts out of the coil over plug. We've got the primary harness off. So now we're just going to get our hand in there and wiggle it a little bit side to side just to break the rubber loose from the plug and lift up. And like I said, you'll see that there's a rather extended boot on the bottom of this coil over plug, so that gives you an idea how deep the spark plug is in the head. And again, take a look. We got a little bit of white powder, but I don't see any major tracking, and there's none down inside the boot, so it looks like we should be okay with this. So the next step will be, we're going to take a long extension, a 5/8 spark plug socket, and we're going to get down inside, and you can see the hole. You can't even see the plug, it's that deep in the head. So you need at least a 6-inch extension to get in there. Alright, so you can see I got the extension in there. There is plenty of room to slide this in, and you'll have the same, you'll be able to get across to all 3 spark plugs in the back. So situation's the same. You still have room to put a ratchet on top. You've got some swinging room, not a lot, but enough to get the plug out. Once you get your plug changed over, same thing as I mentioned with the fronts, a little shot of silicone spray on the rubber boot on the spark plug socket, and that'll make removal of the socket once you install your new spark plug a little bit easier. You won't be leaving the socket down inside that nice deep hole. Alright, so now we're going to install our coil over plug. We've got the new plug in. We're going to look at the situation where this, your clip, you remember, pointed down. Your two bolt holes are going to line up. Probably wouldn't hurt to put a little bit of silicone spray on the tip of the rubber boot and even a little bit on the inside. It'll kind of dry it up and make for a little bit better seal. It'll also slide onto the plug easier. So we're going to find that hole, slide that boot down inside, and give it a little wiggle so she seats down in place. Check to see that your bolt holes line up, and then we're just going to reinstall the two bolts and the primary harness. Alright, so we're ready to plug that primary connection back in place. What you need to do is get your fingers down underneath. You're going to lift up on that clip and then line up the connector on the coil itself. And it's really not all that easy sometimes trying to do it in a mirror. But it pops in, it'll wiggle in, make sure it's fully seated. Get your thumb over the top of the clip, push that down, it'll pop down in place. You know you're locked in. Give a little tug just to make sure you're tight, and you're in. So you're going to use the same process on the two remaining spark plugs. And once you're ready to change over the plugs on your 02 to 05 Freelander, just give a call to any of our knowledgeable salesmen at 1-800-533-2210. Thanks for watching.